Well, David, the Rolling 40s neighborhood Crips are known for selling drugs and committing violent crimes in South Los Angeles. There are about 750 known members of that gang.
What's going on? I'm Terrence Shepard, most commonly known as Pookie, Big Pookie Low, Big Pook, from the Rolling 40 Crips.
Where'd you grow up at?
I grew up on 43rd and 5th Ave.
And what schools did you attend?
I attended 42nd Street School. About the 4th and 5th grade, I went to 59th Street School. I went to Hillcrest, went back to 42nd Street School, got bussed out to Oso, went to Audubon, went to Crenshaw, got kicked out of there, went to Camden, I went to Westchester.
What gangs attended Audubon when you went there?
At the time, it was the 30s. You had a couple of Broadways there. You had a Hoover there. You had some 6-0s there. And you had some Black P Stones, a couple of 20s.
So at that point, junior high, you was cool with the 20s and the P Stones?
Well, I was more cool with the P Stones. I grew up with them. I played with at Baldwin Hills football with a lot of them Tone Stone, Darryl Ephraim, and all of them. So, you know, I grew up with the Jungles. Danny Boy, went to Hillcrest with them. Stayed over there, too, on Hillcrest for a couple of years. So I was all right with them.
What was the gang makeup like at Crenshaw High School?
The gang makeup, well, when I got there, it was predominantly 6-0s and 30s. You had a few 9-0s, sprinkle of 9-0s. You had a couple of East Coasters there. But when we got there, you know, from my neighborhood, we kind of came in a bunch. So it was a lot of us when we got there, around 82.
You knew E-Money, right?
E-Money, that's my boy.
Yeah, that was my guy right there, man.
Rest in peace.
Right. He was pushing Vernon Avenue Hustlers when we was in high school.
Yeah, he was pushing Vernon Avenue Hustler. He started off original King Boulevard Hustler on that side of Arlington, between Arlington and Western, off of King, between King and Vernon. They were the King Boulevard RFHs, Rolling 40 Hustlers back then, but they adopted Vernon Avenue Hustler in like 82, 83 with Big Sight, Champ, and all of them.
All right, tell me a little bit about the Vernon Avenue Hustlers.
The Vernon Avenue Hustler, well, how that started?
Yeah.
Well, that came, well, earlier you had like Big Phil, T-Mac, J-Mac, Reggie Roney, and all of them, the Bigelows, and they used to claim the 40 with the 3 in the middle of the 4. So it was like West Side 4 Trey, you would say, but it was really 40s. And then you had the 40s with the 2 in the middle of the 0. You had the 40s with the 1 in the middle. So we had Arlington Boys, we had the Dairy Boys on 48th Street. We had the Twilight Zone that was back off of Cimarron. So we had these different blocks. But what happened is that me and Bobcat claimed the 42nd Street, and I was off the 43rd Street because I was on 43rd and 5th Ave. But we hung out on 43rd, excuse me, 43rd and 3rd Ave. Me and Bobcat used to always fight. We would cross out each other's little section. So one day we had a meeting at Chestnut House over off of 48th and Cimarron called the Twilight Zone in the Palace. Me, Big Snowman, Red, Little Snowman, Big Bud, Haley Mac, Chestnut, Spoonie, and Bobcat. So we all decided to beat Vernon Avenue because I was like, since we hung out on Vernon Avenue, we hung out on Vernon Avenue and 5th Avenue at Duke's Barbecue. And so since we all hung out on Vernon, I was like, well, let's go on ahead and beat Vernon Avenues. You know, Spoonie made up the sign, and from there we was Vernon Avenues. We decided to just be hustlers at the time, you know, and start making money more. That's how that all started. But you had Lil Pookie, Big Wimp, Baby Pookie, and Big Money Mun. They wanted to keep the Crip on it, so they would say Vernon Avenue Hustler Crip. But we was Vernon Avenue Hustlers at the time.
When you talk about Bobcat, you talking about Bobby Irvin?
Yeah, I'm talking about Bobby Irvin, DJ Bobcat, LL Cool J, Uncle Jam's Army.
Right. Are the avenues considered the original 40s?
Well, you can't really consider who was the original 40 because everybody had their little pieces. You had in the avenues, you had, like I said, before we became Vernon Avenues, those little pieces. You had we called it the dark side avenues back then, and we called ourselves the light side avenues. But we would do that because we would bag on each other because it was so dark when we used to have BB gun fights and fight each other, and it would be dark over there. And then you had on Western, you had the 4 Deuce HTHs, who later turned to become Rollin 40 Neighborhood Crips. You had on 47th and 48th in Western, you had the Neighborhood 40 Crips. The only Rollins was on the King Boulevard side. And then back by Normandy, which is called the Dark Side now, over there by Hoover and Vermont, they were Rollin 40 Hustlers over there. And then you had the 47 Vermont Square Parks by the Vermont Square Park area. So it's really, you can't really say who was really the original 40s, but I can say that the original Neighborhood 40 Crips, Don Juan, Tojo, Big Sherman, and Flippin' all of them off of 48th and Western, they were the first really Neighborhood Crips that we had. The V-Dog and all of them, Big Duck.
So the avenues weren't considered Neighborhood Crips?
Well, we're avenues, you know what I mean? But being that we're 40s, it's Neighborhood Crips too, but we're really just avenues.
Tell me a little about Big Stony Boy.
Big Stony Boy, well, that's my boy. Big Stony Boy was a church boy at first. He used to come around, little square boy. Then he, you know, he started banging. He got the name Stony Boy actually because his uncle was Stony Boy from A-Troy Gangster. So that's how he adopted the name Stony Boy. He came on as Lil Key
Okay.
in the beginning.
And so, is that Little Stony Boy or they brothers?
Nah, Little Stony Boy was just the little homie.
I ain't so stupid, but I ain't on floss and I'm from Vernon Avenue. Ooh.
Okay. You know, Little Stony Boy, that was my little goon, my little boy right there, my little brother.
We talking about Eric Alexander?
We talking about Eric Alexander.
Rest in peace.
Right.
All right. Before all the hustler gangs was in the area, before it was
in the early
officially
70s,
Rollin
it was
40
Fruitown
Crips, what other
They
gangs?
covered basically, they went from the jungles to manual arts really. You had Michael Milkshake, Sharif, Dot, you know what I'm saying? You had Little, really all the older cats from the neighborhood that now say Rollin 40s, they were actually Fruitown Brims in the beginning. You know, 1975, you had Big Dexter, Big Phil, Tony J, Gregory J, and all of them, Big Dean and them, and they were pushing West Side Crip, and they brought the Crip into the hood.
Was Big Phil ever from 30s?
Well, Big Phil was from 30s. He claimed 30s and 40s, actually. A lot of them did.
During the formidable years, what cliques, if any, resisted joining the 40s, the makeup of the 40s?
What clique resisted?
Was it any resistance at all?
Really, the 4-6s. The 4-6s turned neighborhood Crip in the 90s. You know, they didn't want to get into the Cripping, and they were just always saying that they was hustlers. The original 4-6s was Freddie Mims, Bobby Newman, you know, all them cats, Flopsy and all of them. Hot Dog and Big BJ came later. BJ was actually a 40 before he went to the 60s, then he went to the 4-6s. But then, you know, they didn't never turn to the Rollin 40 car. They claim 068 now, part as a 4-pack, you know what I mean? But you had them, then you had the 4-8 neighborhoods who was started by G-Ball, but that was consisted of the Rollin 40s too. Before I went to prison, when I got out of prison, it seemed to have appeared to be a whole little different clique.
What year did you go to the pen?
I went to the pen in 1990. I went in 1991 actually, but I fought my case from all the 90s.
So 4-8 had started before you went to the pen?
Yeah, G-Ball was claiming 4. It was just a sprinkle of them.
And they was NAC?
Neighborhood Crips, just a few of them.
G-Ball,
just like another block of the neighborhood.
that was Gary Camphor?
Gary, I don't remember.
His name was Gary though?
Yeah, Dirt
that's
Brother.
him.
Yeah, Dirt Bike Brother.
Yeah.
Right.
Stayed by the V&G.
Right.
Rock, C-Money, Will
Oh,
Dog.
them was all the park. Real Dog was actually a Western. He was actually from Hard Time Hustlers. He took the neighborhood over to the Vermont Square Park. You know, him and Rock was Road Dogs, Big C-Money and all of them. Right.
Will Dog, did he go to the pen for in that Hoover War, part of the
Yeah,
Hoover
yeah.
War? Yeah, because did a lot of time,
27
right?
years.
Yeah,
He
27
got parole, doing good now.
That's good. That's
Right.
good to hear.
Got his head straight.
What year did E-Bone, rest in peace, and Smurf and them come into play?
E-Bone, I met E-Bone in '86. He was already from 40s on the neighborhood side, but I didn't actually get to know him. We became road dogs in '86. He was a young cat too, a young hog. You know, he got killed in '88. Smurf came around. Smurf was claiming the Rollin 40 Hustler side over there, the Four Deuce block. But when he first came around, it got put on the 40s because a lot of them really, actually, we went down there and turned them all into 40s. So they was mostly consistent 40 avenues, but you had a lot of them claiming 40 neighborhood too. So Smurf started off as a 40 avenue. We would call that area over there back in the days the ancient block, before it started being called the dark side. That's what they call them now. They call us now the dark side.
What was over there before the dark?
The Four-Tray Hoovers.
And how did y'all get that territory from them?
Well, we went to war with them. We just pushed them back, you know, pushed them up out of there.
A lot of bodies lost around there?
Yeah, we had a lot of bodies lost. That's how we actually really got into it with the Five Deuces, because the Five Deuces really wanted that area. We had got into it with the Hoovers earlier on before in '83 when K-Rock got shot. Then it was a back and forth thing for a minute, but then it ceased. But then once the Five Deuce Hoovers, we got into it with them, that became a big type of war. You know, a lot of people thought we was gonna really lose that because we were real young. We was a young Crip set. You know, they called us the Bicentennial Crips back then, but we was all very young, and we wasn't as thick as the Hoovers, you know, the Hoover car. So a lot of people thought we was gonna get smashed. You know, we had our brothers from the Hoovers and from the 6-0s, from the 9-0s, or the 30s. Wanted to assist, but we had it. We took care of our business.
When you get into it with the Five Deuce Hoovers, what's the relationship like with the Five Deuce Broadways?
What happened with the Five Deuce Broadway is I got shot by them, and so that kicked off a war.
What year was that?
That was 1989, December 13th.
How about the Four-Tray situation? Y'all, how does that relationship develop?
Well, the Four-Tray, we was more like family. We never had a problem with the Four-Trays. I don't know how the youngsters really get out today with it. The only thing that would semi kind of make it a problem because we was O's and they were trays. So when they come around, and we functioning, you know. But we wouldn't get involved in you know, we wouldn't let the beef happen.
So how y'all feel about the 430 situation?
The 40 and the 30 situation,
Exactly.
I was in the pen for that whole thing. I really didn't agree with it, and I really didn't know. I wasn't really out here when the war had popped. You know, I got a lot of family from Harlem.
Actually, I meant like the Four-Trays and the 30s relationship.
The Four-Trays and the
Do
30s.
y'all, I mean, it's like nothing. It's like y'all embrace both, or how does that work?
More the 30s. I don't really see too much of the Four-Trays around. More the Harlems.
All right. How about the schoolyards? What's your relationship like with the schoolyards back then?
We didn't really get into it with the schoolyards. You know, we didn't get along with it. We didn't hang out with them, but we didn't really beef with the schoolyards.
Did y'all go to World on Wheels?
We went to World on Wheels, of course.
Yeah.
You know, I was DJing and Bobcat was DJing with Uncle Jam, so we would really go up there and do that. But plus, we was doing our little gang thing too at the same time. So we was at World on Wheels.
You had mentioned Buford earlier, going from one set to the next to the next.
Right.
Overall, his whole career, and may he rest in peace.
Right.
What gang would you label him? What would you consider him? If you had to put one label on it.
I consider him what he was last representing, 446.
What two rivals gave you guys the most problems?
The Hoovers. The Hoovers, really. Nobody else.
Five Deuces.
In the 30 war.
And the 30.
Oh, shit, the 9-0s too.
How did 30 war start?
I wasn't.
If you could speak on that, okay, you did say that.
Right.
And 90 war didn't last long, did it?
No, it didn't last long.
Yeah, that's good.
All my niggas turn